Today we have F1 2022 track tier list. And we're starting off with Abu Dhabi. Not one of my favorite tracks. I think the atmosphere with the cars going under the hotel and stuff is really cool. It's usually the last race of the year, but I feel like the actual racing itself isn't great. Qualifying's pretty cool, a lot of different kinds of turns, but I think I'm going to go C tier. This might change to B later on, but I'm going to do some shuffling at the end, but I think Abu Dhabi is a solid C tier. Next, Australia. Australia is, I don't know. I don't think it produces the greatest races. It is historic. I think it's got some cool turns, cool layout. They did readjust some of the corners for this year. I like how it's right in Melbourne. I think I'm going to go B tier for now. Next up, Austria. So Austria, I do like this track. Super pretty scenery all around in Austria. It's a fun track to drive in video games. Simple. Back half of this track is really fun to watch on TV. Overtaking decent. I think I'm going to go A tier on this one. I think it's going to get pushed back later on by some of these other tracks, but I think it's a solid A tier track. All right, Bahrain. Produced a great race this year. Track's pretty good. It's got some history. Has produced some great races in the past. I'm thinking Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton back in the day. I'm going to go B tier, but ahead of Australia. I think that's a good spot for now. Next up, we have Azerbaijan Baku, as it's known. Personally, I really like this track. I love how it just runs through the city. The castle section's super unique. That super long straightaway into a heavy braking zone can produce good races. I think that's a solid A tier track right there. Belgium, aka Spa-Francorchamps. Spa, longest track of the season, produces a lot of good racing, especially when it rains, which it does a lot in the Argonne Forest. So much history. El Rouge and Radion just looks fantastic on TV. I think it's the first S tier. I think it's got to be. I mean, it's just a fantastic track. Next up, Brazil. I go either way on this. I think it's got some history. Ayrton Senna racing there. It's got some good corners. But I just feel like the cars just kind of get stacked one after another. We did see some good racing last year with Max and Lewis, but hopefully this year with the new regulations, cars can follow easier. I'm going to put it back of B tier for now. Okay, Canada. Montreal. Goes by many names. I personally like this track a lot. A lot of corners where you can overtake. It's in a cool area right by the water. I'm going to have to go... This one's kind of tough. I think it's better than Austria, but I don't know if it's better than Azerbaijan because I don't think it has as much character. So I think that's a pretty good spot for Canada. Now, COTA, Circuit of the Americas. I mean, from America, might be kind of biased here. I'm going to go back of A tier. Not the best track for racing, I'll give it that. But, the beginning S's in the beginning of the lap, I think are super cool, look great on TV, one of my favorite camera angles. It's in the US. A lot of people come out for this race. You have the huge tower in the middle. And I think maybe this year with the new regulations, racing could be even better here. So I think back at A tier is pretty solid. Okay, next up, Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. I don't know. This one, it's okay. Last year, I think the only reason why it was entertaining is because it was raining. Nothing great, nothing bad. So I'm going to have to put that bottom of B tier. Actually, maybe top of C tier, because, like, there's nothing really special about the track, too, look-wise. I think that top of C tier is a good spot for that. Now, France. Paul Ricard track. We saw good races last year between Max and Lewis, mostly because of strategy. I don't really like the look of it, all the lines on the track. I think it's going to be our first D tier. It's usually just super boring racing, so I think D tier, not much more to say. All right, Hungary, aka Istanbul Park. This one's tricky. I really like this track. I think it produces some good racing. Rains some of the time. Last year we saw a crazy raining race. It's got a little bit of history in it. I'm going to go A tier. Smack middle of A tier. I think that's a good spot for that. Japan. Suzuka. It goes by many names. Famous for the Ayrton Senna Alan Prost crash for the championship multiple times. I think twice. I think this track is awesome. Very fun to drive in video games. Very fun to watch on TV. So much history. I think it's S tier. I think it's behind Spa, but these two are very close. Two very, very good tracks. Okay, on to Mexico. Not great racing. I think kind of an ugly circuit. I mean, you go through that cool stadium section, but I'm going to throw it back as C tier. I was thinking maybe D tier, but I don't know. I think that's an okay spot for it. Now into Miami. Never raced here. Just finished being built. It is a U.S. race. Unfortunately, it is a street circuit, which I feel like we're kind of getting too many of those now that Las Vegas has just announced street circuit also. I think Miami's a really cool city. It's right next to the Hard Rock Stadium, which is kind of outdated. It's going through the parking lot area of it. I think it is going to be cool because Miami is a cool city. Racing, I don't know how it's going to be for overtaking. So I think you just got to throw it in the middle of B tier because we have not raced there. Time will tell. Now into Monaco. Monaco's tough because it has that history, it has that pizzazz, but it's horrible racing. Qualifying is everything. It's the best qualifying of the season, hands down. But racing, there's 0 overtakes. Maybe you'll get a safety car, but it's hard. I'm going to have to go back of A tier because it's not good racing. Qualifying is really good. This is one that a lot of people watch, even if they're not F1 fans. So I think back at A tier fits that pretty well. Now into Manza. Extremely historic. The old track with the slanted turn is very cool. Still back there in the forest, hidden away. Fastest track of the year. Long straightaways, big braking points. Has a reputation for not being great racing, but this is the coolest podium. The Ferrari fans are always there in full force. I think this can go back at S tier. I think so. It's a race I really enjoy. It's got the history. With the Tifosi, the Ferrari fans, it makes it something a little more special than A tier. Okay. Netherlands. AKA Zandvoort. It's an old track. It's historic. It's a little narrow. Racing wasn't fantastic there. I do like the banked corners. It looks really cool on TV, but I think it's mid B tier, higher than Miami because we don't know what Miami is going to be like. Yeah, I don't know. Zandvoort's okay. On to Saudi Arabia. So I noticed that Saudi Arabia in this little picture has the same track layout as Zandvoort, which is, I don't know. I didn't make this, so whoever did make it chose to not put the track layout on it. I can throw up a picture right now of what it looks like. Saudi Arabia, it produces enjoyable races, but I think a lot of the time for the wrong reason, because it usually comes after a safety car red flag, because the track is so high speed, so narrow, street circuit. I think it's cool that it's right on the water, super pretty track. This year was really fun to watch Max and Charles just go at it for the win on the last lap. I'm going to put it back of A tier, because it is fun racing, but like I said, not for the right reason. On to Silverstone. Silverstone is extremely difficult. It's got the history. The British fans love it. It's the home race for a lot of drivers. It's got some cool corners, super high speed. I don't think the racing is crazy good. I think I'm going to put it B tier, behind Bahrain. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it there. Kind of controversial, but it's my picks. What can you do? All right, Singapore. I've actually never watched a race here, so it's kind of hard to say. I know it's very, very labor intensive for the drivers. Super difficult track, very humid. Another street circuit. It's raced at night. I don't have much more to say on it. I'm going to put it middle of B tier. Okay. Last but not least, Spain. Spain, pretty track, lots of elevation, not great racing. I think this year with the car change, less dirty air, I think it's going to be a little bit closer. But just that last chicane is just horrible. It just ruins the whole flow of the track. Makes it so cars just can't get close onto the back straight. I think I'm going to put it C tier. Maybe top of C tier. It's almost B tier, but I think that's a good spot for it. All right. That's all of them. 2022 circuits right there. Let me know what you would do in the comments. Thanks for watching.